Have you ever found yourself reading certain ancient texts, maybe the Old Testament, and wondering about those really strange events, the miracles, the divine encounters? Could there be something else going on?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today we're looking at some really extraordinary source material.
We are indeed. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore a pretty radical reinterpretation of the Old Testament. The material we've got suggests many events we usually see as divine might actually be, well, what it calls UFO evidences.
Right, UFO evidences. It's a bold claim. The core idea here is that things like, fiery chariots, people with superhuman strength, maybe even advanced mental powers.
Yeah, all of it.
Could point towards extraterrestrial beings, maybe advanced tech, or even these superhumans who are just misunderstood as angels or gods.
Yeah.
So definitely a different way to look at things.
A very different lens. And just so we're clear up front, our aim isn't really to say, yes, this is true.
No, definitely not endorsing it.
Exactly. We're here to unpack what this specific source material claims, pull out the key ideas, the surprising bits that challenge, the standard interpretations.
And look at the contradictions it points out, too. See what that might mean for how we understand our past. So let's dive in.
Okay, so setting the stage. This view suggests that a lot of unexplained stuff in the Bible isn't just about, say, flying discs. It's also encounters with different kinds of beings.
Beings, it specifically names as the Anunnaki.
Right, the Anunnaki. And the claim is that these beings were often mistaken for angels or even, God or gods.
But the source says they were actually, neighbors or visitors from the sky.
Yeah, essentially. Visitors who, this material claims, controlled the entire Earth system and, maybe more controversially, created religions to suit their own interests.
Wow. Okay, this connects to the idea that the Bible itself might have been altered. Adulterated, I think was the term used.
That's the word used, yes. Leading to contradictions that, can confuse people trying to figure out what's genuinely from God and what's maybe human influence or something else.
And this confusion extends to the people in the stories, too, like prophets having special abilities.
Exactly. The source talks about prophets having certain abilities, like living incredibly long lives or appearing as superhumans with just indescribable powers.
And it doesn't just stick to the Bible, does it? It mentions parallels elsewhere.
No, it brings in other cultures, like Norse gods, Thor and company, African Orishas, Viracocha in South America.
Right, all describing gods or demigods with amazing powers.
Suggesting maybe there's a common thread here, a bigger pattern of these kinds of interactions or beings across the ancient world.
It really makes you wonder. So we take that premise. How does it reinterpret specific stories we know? Let's get into those case studies.
Good idea. Let's start with Jacob. Genesis 32, the famous story where he wrestles with someone all night.
Until dawn, yeah. Usually interpreted as wrestling with God himself or an angel.
But this material asks, was it really God? Or maybe one of these Anunnaki or a supposed angel, as it puts it.
And it picks up on that detail about the being needing to leave before sunrise.
It does. It highlights the being's haste to leave and connects it, interestingly, to magnetic tides being propitious.
Propitious, meaning like favorable for travel or something.
Kind of implies a physical constraint, doesn't it? Maybe linked to their craft or even their biology, being sensitive to Earth's energies. It's a very non-divine sounding limitation.
And the fight itself. The God figure doesn't actually win. Jacob holds his own, demands a blessing.
And gets his name changed to Israel, which means he who struggled with God and won.
Which leads the source to ask pretty pointedly, who can fight God and win?
It definitely challenges the traditional view of omnipotence, yeah.
Okay, what's next? The Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, the Ark and the fall of Jericho. The Ark is presented here as an artifact, something tangible that Israel carried with them.
And something their enemies were terrified of because of its, quote, miraculous effects.
Exactly. So, Jericho. They circle the city, Ark in tow, blowing trumpets for 7 days, and the walls collapse.
Classic miracle story. But this source sees technology.
It suggests it wasn't purely divine power, but the use of artifacts and technology, specifically sound vibration.
Sound vibration to affect matter.
Yeah.
Like sonic weaponry.
That's the implication. Using sound to cause phenomena, even crumble walls, and it adds another layer. Claiming Jericho's walls were built by 49 races, and that Joshua wasn't just following God, but was under the command of some non-human intelligence providing this tech.
Wow, 49 races. That's specific. And this also brings up the ethics, doesn't it? The command to destroy everything in Jericho.
Right. Men, women, children, animals. The source contrasts that starkly with usual rights of war and the idea of a God of mercy. It questions that command.
Okay, let's shift to Samson, Judges 13, the strong man.
The ultimate strongman, introduced as having uncommon strength, basically superhuman, and his birth announced by an angel.
Right, and the feats are legendary, killing 1,000 men.
With a donkey's jawbone. The source explicitly compares him to Hercules, reinforcing that superhuman or demigod idea.
And it questions the angel again, suggesting it wasn't necessarily God's direct messenger.
Yeah, it opens that possibility. Could it have been another type of being involved in his conception or empowerment?
Fascinating. Okay, Daniel. He seems to have multiple strange encounters. Teleportation.
Uh-huh. There's this story about the prophet Habakkuk. He's apparently picked up by an angel of the Lord, or maybe God.
Picked up from Israel.
And instantly transported over 1,000 kilometers to Babylon to give Daniel food in the lion's den, and then zipped right back.
Zipped back. The source calls this teleportation, right? Faster than light.
Yeah, speed of thought, faster than the speed of light. Presented not just as a miracle, but as evidence of, well, advanced transport.
In Daniel's visions, there's one of a really powerful being.
Incredibly vivid, linen clothes, eyes like fire torches, bronze feet, flaming hands, a whole body radiating fire and energy.
Sounds intense. But the source highlights a key detail.
That only Daniel could see and hear this being. Others were there, but experienced nothing.
And the interpretation is frequency.
A matter of frequency. That seeing and hearing operate on certain frequencies, and Daniel was somehow attuned to this being's frequency. It suggests something non-physical or maybe interdimensional.
Which would explain his reputation in Babylon as master of mages, right? His abilities were clearly beyond the norm.
Absolutely. He outshone all the king's advisors.
Okay, moving on. Elijah.
Yeah.
2 Kings. He did some amazing things like parting a river.
With his cloak, yeah. Powerful guy.
But it's his exit that's really the focus here, the chariot of fire.
Comes down from the sky, takes him away. The source interprets this as perfect transmutation.
Transmutation, meaning?
Like he literally turns into energy and just
He goes.
disappears into this fiery vehicle.
And there's a personal story connected to this.
Yeah, the author mentions a friend, apparently in 2012, being taken by a similar ball of fire into parallel worlds for 3 days and then returning.
Wow. Drawing a direct line from ancient scripture to a modern experience.
Exactly, suggesting these things might still happen or that the mechanism is the same.
Okay, Ezekiel's vision. Chapter 1, Chapter 10. This one gets cited a lot in UFO circles, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The source emphasizes the description's similarity to what we have in mind of ships, specifically older metallic ships.
And the beings associated with it, the 4 living creatures.
Yeah, with the 4 wings and 4 faces, man, lion, ox, eagle, and the craft itself, a flaming ball of fire, shooting out rays, and controlled by the being's thoughts.
Thought-controlled craft. So the source basically says this is a clear UFO report.
Pretty much calls it a classic UFO text, and argues that Ezekiel's whole prophetic mission was based on information given to him by these beings.
Even the vision of the dry bones.
That's interpreted symbolically as a vision about the cycle of life and rebirth on Earth, perhaps given by these same intelligences.
All right. How about something a smaller scale? Elisha and the floating axe head.
Right, 2 Kings again. An axe head flies off its handle, falls in the river, seems lost.
But Elisha just throws a piece of wood in, and the iron axe head floats.
Seems impossible, doesn't it? But the source explains it as Elisha using mentalization, his ability to break paradigms, to use his mind to affect reality.
Paranormality.
Mentalization, like mind over matter.
Essentially. And again, there's a personal anecdote from the author about making a stone return to their hand using similar mental focus, suggesting these abilities aren't just myths.
Okay, another Daniel story. Belshazzar's feast, the writing on the wall.
Daniel 5. Big party, kings using sacred temple vessels. And suddenly a hand appears. Just a hand, no body.
Writes a message on the wall. Spooky.
The source describes it vividly. A plasma hand, writing with a silver pen.
Plasma hand, silver pen. And Daniel, of course, is the only one who can read it.
He interprets the cryptic message, predicts the king's doom, and it happens that very night. The source sees it as another undeniable manifestation of a phenomenon.
Okay, nearly through the case studies, Jonas, or Jonah, depending on translation, the book of Jonah, he tries to run away from his mission to Nineveh, gets on a ship. storm hits.
Thrown overboard, swallowed by a giant fish.
Right. A gigantic fish, whale, maybe shark. The source even mentions megalodon, and he's inside for 3 days.
But the source brings in a Kabbalistic text, the Zohar.
Yes, and this is where it gets really unique. The Zohar apparently claims this great fish was metallic.
Metallic, like a submarine.
Exactly, suggesting it was an OSNI, an unidentified submerged object, a vehicle, not an animal.
And that helps explain the geography issue.
Potentially. The source points out Nineveh was inland, far from the sea where Jonas would likely have been swallowed. Being transported in something and then let out closer makes more sense in this interpretation.
And Jonas himself, he's kind of reluctant, even angry when Nineveh repents.
Yeah, it's a strange reaction. He wants them destroyed, even after God shows mercy. It contrasts sharply with the supposed mission.
Which brings us to the last case study, the Assyrian army.
That's right, it's 2 Kings again. Sennacherib's army besieging Jerusalem, huge army, 185,000 soldiers, looks like the end for Israel.
And then, poof.
Overnight, an angel wipes out the entire Assyrian force, 185,000 dead. Israel is saved.
A massive intervention. But this is where the source really poses a challenge, right?
A big one, it asks. What kind of God shows mercy to Nineveh through Jonas, but then orders or carries out this incredibly violent slaughter?
It highlights a contradiction.
A huge one. It points to the tension in some teachings portraying God as both loving and merciful, but also vengeful, jealous, destructive.
And contrast this with Jesus' idea of God as Abba, Father.
Yes, suggesting Jesus offered a different, more intimate view, maybe trying to correct this older, harsher image linked perhaps to these other beings.
So taking all these examples, these evidences together,
Yeah.
what's the overarching conclusion the source material draws?
It weaves them into a theory about the Anunnaki acting as a kind of government of chaos. Their goal, to subjugate humanity.
Why? What was their interest?
The source suggests humanity has a powerful genetic inheritance. It calls it adapa, like a latent potential, spiritual or energetic.
That these beings wanted to control or suppress.
Exactly. And this hidden government, the theory goes, formed alliances throughout history, even with great clients in the history of the churches.
Alliances to create systems based on fear, guilt.
Yes, fear and excessive guilt. Because the argument is, if people are trapped in fear and guilt, they cannot reflect. They can't think clearly, can't walk on their own legs.
They always need someone else to lead them, to tell them what to do. It's a control mechanism.
Precisely. So the ultimate message seems to be a push for spiritual autonomy.
For direct contact with the Creator without intermediaries.
Right. Breaking free from religious structures that act like toll booths, demanding payment, whether literal or metaphorical, for access to the divine.
So wrapping this up, the big picture presented here is that these kinds of evidences are, well, blatant if you look closely, not just in the Bible, but elsewhere too.
That's the assertion, that the clues are scattered throughout ancient texts and traditions.
So for you listening, this deep dive really serves as a prompt, doesn't it? A call to maybe look again with a more critical, researching eye.
Moving beyond just accepting dogma or getting caught in fanaticism to investigate for yourself.
The source definitely believes many paradigms will be broken, that combining insights from science, from religious study, archaeology, we can find the missing pieces.
For a bigger, maybe more accurate understanding of who we are and where we came from.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If these ancient stories do reflect interactions with advanced beings who, as this source suggests, maybe tried to control humanity, what does that imply about our world today? Our power structures, our beliefs, and maybe even our own untapped potential as well, as superhumans in our own right. What are you going to investigate next?